Hi everyone, my name is Emily Ferdinandi. I'm a mobile specialist and I'm joined here with Phillip, who is a specialist engineer here at Google. And we are going to talk just for a few minutes about AMP. We're going to keep it super simple and high level. You may have heard this acronym thrown around and may still be wondering what exactly it means. So we're hoping to answer some of those questions today. All right, Phillip, can you just explain AMP as simply as you can in one sentence?
Okay, let me give it a shot. So AMP, or Accelerated Mobile Pages, is a technology that allows you to create fast, beautiful, and performant websites across a variety of networks and devices.
Okay, so what do you mean by technology in that sentence?
Sure, it's an open source framework, so just like a JavaScript library that you can use on your website.
Okay, and performant means?
Performant means that it is able to perform in a variety of scenarios, so on a 3G connection, 4G, even 2G, and across a variety of devices such as iPhones and Android.
Awesome, great.
Yeah.
So how does AMP work? How does it make my page faster and more performant?
Sure, so basically AMP uses a streamlined version of HTML and JavaScript that gives you a lot of ways to build a site, and it's very flexible. In addition, it limits the amount of external JavaScript and CSS that you can bring into your page, which helps prevent bloat. And finally, it allows you to utilize the Google AMP cache, which is a caching solution that enables your pages to preload when you go to a search provider such as google.com. And therefore, it gets that instantaneous feeling when you click on a link.
Okay. So speaking of clicking on links, does AMP affect search rankings at all?
So earlier this year, in about July, we did release an update to the search ranking algorithm that does take into account mobile speed. And this really only affects the slowest of sites on the internet. So if you have a 7-second site and then a competitor has like a site that loads in 6 seconds, that's not going to make the difference in how you're ranked. However, if you are in that bottom of sites that are loading in 20 seconds, 25 seconds, then AMP can help you improve your ranking simply because you've improved the speed of your landing pages.
That's awesome. So in general, I know this is probably hard to answer, but in general, how fast do you see AMP sites loading?
Absolutely. AMP sites in general are going to be loading in under 5 seconds on 3G. And if they're being served from the AMP cache, they can be loaded in under 2 or even under 1 second.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. That's very fast. Okay, so how do I know if AMP is right for me, or who should be thinking about using AMP? Is it only for content providers?
Absolutely. It's for everyone. So there was a time when AMP was predominantly being used by content providers and article writers such as the New York Times. However, in recent years, it has become much more adopted across a variety of industries such as e-commerce and finance. Basically, any sort of a page that is intended to engage a customer and bring them into your conversion flow is an excellent candidate for a page to be turned into AMP, right? Because we want that page to load as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. Okay, so what I take that to mean is that you can just AMP your landing page and then continue on with the rest of your site that already exists. You don't have to overhaul your whole site. Exactly. It's a great way to think about it is it's like the door to your website, right? You want your door to be as nice and as fast as possible, right? You don't want it to take a long time to open up. So if you get that great entry point, you're going to get more users into your site where you can engage them with your content.
Okay, that's great. So if we were thinking about, just amping a landing page, how much would that cost? How long would it take? How hard would it be?
Absolutely. So it doesn't cost anything. As I mentioned earlier, it's an open source framework. So this is something that anybody can download and start working with. In terms of the amount of time it takes to develop a page, I mean, it can vary. However, for most pages, we generally see a completed build in under 5 days. So just a single business week.
Okay, wow, pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, so what are some common concerns that you hear about AMP? I know you're talking to customers all the time. What are some reasons that people have not built it, and how do you address those concerns?
Absolutely. So as I alluded to earlier, there has always been that thought that AMP is really only good for content providers. And that's because those pages are static, right? After you write an article, generally it's going to stay the same. It's a good candidate for caching. However, recent advances in the AMP technology have enabled a much broader application of AMP that allows for much more dynamic pages. So if you have pages that have price listings, right, that need to be updated on a minute per minute basis, that is now possible to do in AMP since you are able to dynamically inject information. So you can use AMP for a much more dynamic range of pages.
Okay, I heard that there's even a WordPress plugin now.
Exactly, there's now an officially supported WordPress plugin. It just got released, version 1.0, and we highly recommend that you give it a shot if you are running on a WordPress site.
Cool. And one thing that I hear a lot about is that AMP is only for mobile. We talk a lot about mobile site speed. Yep. Is that true? Is AMP only for your mobile pages? What do you do with the desktop site?
Absolutely. So with AMP, you're only going to be able to utilize that AMP cache on a mobile phone. However, AMP is a responsive framework. So you can use your desktop landing pages with AMP. They're just not going to be served from the cache. But that's not generally a problem because most desktop users are already on fast cable or Wi-Fi connections.
So you could theoretically create an AMP landing page and just use that for all of your traffic.
Exactly, for all of your traffic.
Awesome. All right, so any last comments that you have for how awesome AMP is that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, AMP is an excellent technology, and I highly recommend that everybody give it a shot to try to supercharge their website. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to ampproject.org. It has a lot of documentation and many more testimonials to how great AMP is.
Awesome. Thanks, Phillip.
Yeah.